One of the most concerning charts you'll ever see is this one. A physical barrel of oil is at $141 a barrel. Today, we're going to show you a clip of an insider who tracked the price of oil at $173 a barrel over the weekend. With energy prices at these levels, massive inflation prints are just around the corner. And so is the endgame with the big print that we've been talking about for a long time. And although I have all the faith in the world in Bitcoin, I know that in the end, it's going to fail me. And no, it's not because Google just released a theoretical paper about quantum. Bitcoin will fail for one reason and one reason only. And I'll give my honest thoughts on that today. This is Dante Coco Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. I won't sugarcoat what's going on. The war in Iran is ugly and it's getting even uglier. The energy crisis that we're seeing now is going to trickle its way into everything. It just hasn't made its way fully into the prices of everyday goods that we normally buy just yet. And the real reason is this. You can't print molecules.
Jeff Curry of Carlisle writing this: the cost of rebuilding and recovering from the Hormuz shock will be enormous and underscores the regime change towards physical assets. Jeff joins us now for more. Jeff, welcome to the program. It's always good to catch up with you, sir. Fluid environment, so allow me to go through the headline of the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. One headline, one report coming from Iran that their energy assets have been struck. Now, I have limited information beyond that, but Jeff, from your standpoint, in the week since we last spoke, has this got worse or better?
Worse. I like to call it molecular contagion. Last week we were talking about shortages in Singapore. Prices of jet fuel spiked to $230 a barrel. This week, it's in Rotterdam. Rotterdam's $220 a barrel. Thailand, Philippines, New Zealand, Australia. So this thing's going intercontinental. And, so you look at Singapore, Rotterdam, the spread, there's no more price spread. There's no more spare barrels. There's no policy fix, and it's just physics at this point. And I want to emphasize, these are physical supply chains, and that the idea of around financialization and the ability to print money doesn't apply here. And I think the title of that piece says it all. You can't print molecules.
The contraction in stocks and home prices is showing us that the wealth destruction is just beginning. People are going to start to realize that the system is just propped up on the value of paper assets. And it's only sustained by the government's ability to manipulate the prices of those paper assets. This is fiscal dominance in a nutshell. We run deficits on paper that we can't actually meet in the real world. So we print money to satisfy the needs of the debt that needs to be repaid. And like Larry Lepard, this is why I believe with every bone in my body that the only way to survive the next big print is by owning hard and real assets.
Powell is bluffing. He says we're going to get inflation back to 2%. He says we haven't lost control, even though he has. And the market believes him because the forward swaps are at 275 for 5-year inflation. It's bullshit, but people believe him. When things start to break, he will have to change his tune well before the inflation rate is 2%. And everyone's going to go, that's interesting. He really has lost control. He cannot get inflation down. All those guys who've been talking about inflation is inevitable, they are right. And then you're going to see just an enormous movement of capital from other things into our things. There's $450 trillion of fiat shit in the world. Cash, stocks, and bonds. All of Bitcoin, what is it today? 350 billion, 400 billion? So we're 450 trillion, 400 billion of Bitcoin. Let's call it 6 or 7 trillion of sound money. Bitcoin, gold stocks. Okay. 450 trill of unsound money. Bonds, cash, and stocks. When a quorum of the people come to the conclusion that they can never stop printing and that it is inevitable that they will have to continue to print, they are going to say, please protect my assets in stuff that cannot be printed. All it takes, it doesn't take the whole 450 coming into Bitcoin or gold for us to go way up in price. Even if only 10% of it comes in, that's $45 trillion chasing 7. How much does the value of our stuff have to go up? It's true that in 1980, when gold was very hot and very, everyone thought inflation would go on forever, right at the peak of that market before Volcker tamed it. Okay, in 1980, gold represented 20% of all financial assets, at that time. I mean, gold and Bitcoin today represent less than 1% of all financial assets. So there's plenty of upside here in the sound money stuff, if one assumes that they can never stop printing. And I believe that with every bone in my body. I believe that.
And with every bone in my body, I believe that this is true. But in the end, I believe that Bitcoin will fail. And it's a reason that I don't think people with platforms like mine talk about very often. And no, it's not quantum. It's not from Neha's writing, which has almost no value in my opinion. It's not because Cal Berkeley and Caltech released an article about quantum, and Google's paper is honestly not worth my time. Why? Let me just give you a simple argument. If we have a worldwide shortage on energy, resources, minerals, compute chips, because of war and for AI, which has already received trillions in investment in CapEx, do you think that the need for a quantum computer will supersede these shortages? Do you think governments are going to stop funding their need to build chips and missiles and defense capabilities just so that they can build a quantum computer? What about the need to increase real productivity versus a growing pile of debt? If you think that those things are true, then you're not being realistic. Also, if you actually read all of these papers, the real constraint that comes is that these quantum computers only exist in a world of Minecraft, a theoretical imaginary world where you can do anything and anything can be made up. There are no physical limits in this theoretical world that they're imagining. We're in a pretentious situation with China right now and Taiwan because Taiwan is the only place in the world that has the capability to mass produce chips that we need for things in everyday items, not even quantum computers. And you know how long it took Taiwan and TSMC to build this capability? 50 years. So how long do you think it will take to manufacture a single chip that can manufacture quantum states and coordinate those quantum states in open windows with thousands of other chips simultaneously manipulating the atoms to do this compute within 10 minutes, which is what you need to break a Bitcoin block in encryption? What does that supply chain look like? What does the energy, materials, knowledge, and IP to build that sort of capability look like? But that's not the reason that Bitcoin will fail. I'll tell you right after we thank our sponsors. If you know that Bitcoin is the supreme asset and it's going to continue to go up forever in light of the value of a decreasing value of fiat currency, then you shouldn't sell that asset. You borrow against it and pay back your liabilities in the currency that is getting weaker. And that's exactly what Ledn lets everyday people do. This is something that used to only be available to institutions, but now you can do it by signing up at learn.ledn.io/simply. What you do is you post your Bitcoin as collateral onto their platform. You then get fiat in your account in less than 6 hours at an interest rate of 9.9 to 11.49%. And you can repay this at any time. But what it allows you to do is to never sell your Bitcoin. There's no capital gains. There's no penalty for getting this fiat. That's half of what you could get for a credit card. And you don't actually get a credit hit. You just borrow against your Bitcoin privately, safely between yourself. Go to learn.ledn.io and fill out the application, which takes just 2 minutes to get started. I'm a believer because I'm a user of the product. Whenever I need to make a big purchase, well, I don't go to the credit markets because I don't believe in them. I use my Bitcoin as collateral. The other thing that I believe in is being prepared before it comes time that you need to be prepared. It's like an umbrella. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that knowledge that you need for becoming sovereign with your Bitcoin is something that you need to develop now. Don't do it on your own. Get a coach at thebitcoinway.com. Members of their team will walk you through how you and your family can be prepared for the best and the worst scenarios in Bitcoin. They're going to teach you how to manage it privately, safely, securely. So when stuff hits the fan, you're ready and you're prepared. Go to thebitcoinway.com/partner/Dante-Cook. From doing this show and being in Bitcoin so long, I get people that come up to me all the time. One cool thing happened this weekend at an AIA breakfast, a Legend of the Hardwood breakfast for the John Wooden Award, which is given to the coach that exemplifies their integrity, their character, and their Christ-like following in the NCAA. There was a breakfast that they did, and there were hundreds of people that got to come to this breakfast. Top players in the NCAA, NBA players, NBA greats. It's a cool event. But at this event, someone came up to me and stopped me who recognized me from this show in Bitcoin. And what I realized is the real reason that people do follow me in this content is because of authenticity. I give you the real of what I feel. I'm not doing this to get clicks. I'm not doing this to get likes. I'm doing this because I genuinely believe in the value of serving other people with information that I already know and that I've been fortunate and blessed enough to learn on my own. And let me give you the real of what I actually believe. In the end, Bitcoin will fail because Bitcoin was never meant to save you in the first place. It never could. And instead of me waxing poetic about all of these things, the thing that's going on right now at the Final Four in college basketball, the greatest time of the year with Masters right around the corner, is these athletes get up and they get to share about who they are, why they do what they do. Here's a great clip from Koa Pete, which I think personifies me and my purpose for this show, and it's beyond just sharing information about Bitcoin.
Without faith, I'm nothing. So, I've been really faithful since a young child. My dad was a pastor, but just something that, it's really, really big for me. I don't think, basketball is really my purpose. I think, being able to, have this platform to, spread the gospel is really my purpose for sure.
Without a doubt, this is the greatest time of year, not just because of the Easter holiday, but because the Masters is coming up. And with that, we get a day to just enjoy family, enjoy friends, and to watch great content of behind the scenes of what these people actually feel and believe. And one of the leaders in golf right now, the #1 player in the world, one of the greatest to ever do it, Scottie Scheffler, talks about his why and why he strives for excellence in golf.
I think it always goes back to the why. So why, there's nothing, I think that's something that always gets messed up with faith too, is it's not a bad thing to pursue excellence. When I think about golf and why do I play golf? I play golf to glorify God. So when I go out and practice, I'm glorifying God by going out and practicing. I want to get the most out of that time with my practice. It's not bad to have the desire to want to be really good at something. That's a good thing. It's just the why. It's do I want to be a really good golfer so that I can become famous, or do I want to become a really good golfer to glorify God? And so I think when you're looking at trying to become excellent at something, I think you always just got to go.
When it comes down to this weekend, it's important for me to recognize that the root of all of what I believe in Christianity, and you don't have to believe in it, hinges on one singular moment, one particular event, and that is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which a lot of people debate and a lot of people believe is not true and it's all made up and it was all fiction and it's all a bunch of things that people wrote from thousands of years ago that aren't actually true. But I do believe it. And like Terrace Reed, my goal here is to serve. That is why I do this show.
The fact that this is Easter weekend, how significant is that to you? And the fact that what does the resurrection mean to you?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, the resurrection is literally everything. That's the staple of Christianity. So I feel without the resurrection, there is no Christian, there is no Jesus. So I feel once you can show a lot of significant evidence for the resurrection, I mean, it shows a lot of the proof towards Christianity. So I feel just to go through where I came from throughout my college career, how Jesus just literally changed my mind. He changed everything about me. And it's crazy looking back. I saw my old team Michigan the other day and spoke to a couple of those guys. They were we just seen each other just grow so much and just change. So it's just been a blessing just to see myself just, like I said, grow through Jesus. I mean, he just, like I said, wiped my eyes clean. My whole mind is different. The way I talk, will all act, change. The way I treat other people. It's more not to get, but more to serve. I feel I'm here to really serve and serve others.
So let me give you some final thoughts from another relevant topic and event. This quote comes from Victor Glover, who's the pilot of the Artemis II rocket that just launched into space. We need Jesus whether we're on Earth or whether we're circling the moon. But why? As Bitcoiners, let me give you this analogy. We fundamentally believe that running fiscal deficits is wrong. But why does debt need to be repaid at all? Why does justice and fairness matter? Why does truth matter? If you don't believe in these things, you don't believe in Bitcoin at all. But the fundamental reason why I think that these questions are important to you are important to all humans is because there's someone that embedded this idea at our core, at the core of our belief system as humans. When we see war going on in Iran, when we see people being killed endlessly, we have this idea that this is wrong. But why? Because life matters and life is precious. If there wasn't a fundamental belief underneath of all of that, then life would be meaningless. You would never ask a question about what is happening to these people after they die. It's embedded to who you are, and you've never been able to shake that question no matter how much Bitcoin that you have. Why did 11 of 12 of Jesus' disciples all die a horrific death by martyr for what they believed in? At the end, if he was a fake, a phony, a scam, or they were rug pulled, like we say in the crypto world, then they would have just walked away. They would have just completely denied him. But at their core, they saw the truth face to face. They were met with something that even at one point they didn't believe themselves. But in the end, they couldn't deny. That's what conviction looks like. That's what diamond hands looks like. That's what believing at your core actually looks like. So in the end, you can die with all the Bitcoin in the world. And though your future may be secure on a blockchain here on Earth, what happens after that? You might want to find the person who has the key to allow you to hop on the next immutable ledger, my friend. Leave a note in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you all see and what you all believe. You don't have to believe what I believe, but I'm sharing my why behind what I do in this show. And I'm so thankful that I get to be real and authentic with people out there, that I have an impact on people out there in the real world. And I hope this is useful.
Oh my God! Jesus Christ!
Before we go, this show wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. This is how the team is supported. This is how people edit the videos. This is how we do what we do. The team at SAS Mining, they allow you to stack Bitcoin around the clock 24/7. You don't need to understand what a Bitcoin miner does. You just need to understand that it gives you great tax benefits. It allows you to offset capital gains with a Section 179 depreciation schedule, and it allows you to have sats flow directly to your wallet. You give them money, they help you find a machine, they maintain it, they keep it up, they keep it repaired. Use the QR code to get started with SAS Mining today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking and happy Easter.